And we're live. What's happening, everybody? Today is the 4th day of October 2020. This is the Jimmy Doane Show. Do this live twice a week. Sometimes right here on Facebook. This is where it is most of the time, actually. 4 o'clock, New York time, Sunday and Wednesday. Also, as you can see here, I got a timestamp. I'll post a timestamp copy of this in video format up on YouTube, Twitter, Parler, and Gab. That won't be till later tonight. You can find us around the web on audio, in audio format, on a whole bunch of places, as you can see. So leave a comment if you want. I'll try to check back about halfway through, and we'll touch base at other parts. So thanks for joining us. What is happening? We are in the emergency studios.
Okay.
Oops.
What happened?
You're back in the past.
I'm back in the
past.
Well,
I
yeah.
don't know how that happened.
Oh,
There we go.
yeah, there we go.
Okay.
Read. Yeah, okay, cool. Okay, so what do you think has been the news of the week?
I don't know. Is there anything above you?
Well, what's interesting, of course, as always, as the mainstream, all the press people, including everybody just about on Facebook and Twitter and everything else, they all go into the same place, and everybody has their own opinions on everything. And of course, this time it's the COVID on Trump,
Right.
and Melania. Milana. What's her name? Lamina.
Millennia.
Melania, right. So apparently she stayed at home. What? And then he went to Walter Reed.
Well, she's what, 25?
Yeah, something. Yeah, she's not in the same. I think it's a 20-year difference.
Okay.
I think she must be now 54.
Okay.
So, yeah. I wonder. I don't know. At any rate, we'll see. Well, quick update. I always like to do this at the beginning. 2 things. I'm sorry, 3 things. No, wait a minute. More than that. One thing I like about our show, which everybody needs to know, and I hate about other people's shows, is that we announce the date. October 4th, Sunday, 2020. Okay?
Yeah.
And a lot of other places, I go in through and I figure, when was that? And they'll say, this is number 231. When the hell was that? What does that mean? I remember in the old days, it hadn't been but maybe 20 years. The I-75 in Florida the numbering system was random. I mean, you just hadn't. Finally, they figured it out and said, well, let's do the mile markers. So
weird.
Weird. Yeah. So anyway, you can tell how far you are from the Georgia or wherever it is, depending on the mile marker. Gold is $18.99, which is about the same. Silver $23.70, which is about the same. And Bitcoin is 10,000.
Now, are you doing these announcements because you're expecting a big?
Yes. These are not dollars.
Okay.
Gold. I know we're measuring it in dollars.
Right.
But I'm looking for the big crasharooski.
Okay, but what would that? Are you looking for an inverse reaction from these?
Yes, I'm looking for gold to go to 5,000, silver to go to
5,000. Okay.
Oh yeah, and silver to go to 50, 60, and Bitcoin. Believe it or not, in spite of what Peter Schiff says,
right?
I'm looking for Bitcoin to skyrocket up for a couple of reasons.
50,000.
Well, could be.
Okay.
And just about anything. So
right.
It doesn't really matter.
20 before.
Yeah, I know the whole. Yeah, exactly right. So the simple fact is, when you look at the logistics of something like that, we're on fiat money anyway, as it is right now. They're printing money crazy, and as I've said before, it takes about anywhere from 6 to 18 months for all the printing press money to filter into the economy, where the prices start to go astronomical. And we've seen it. I've seen it, because I'm an old person, but I remember in the mid to late 70s when prices literally were going up over the weekend by a lot.
And the money transfer is so much faster these days, I would expect.
It is.
Information transfer.
And people talk about the velocity of money, and then there's the Phillips curve and all this other crap. And it was interesting, because until the mid 70s, there was an ironclad fixation between employment, unemployment, or employment, and the value of the dollar, whatever. And there was a fixed formula. Well, the fixed formula blew apart. This was gospel in Keynesian terms, gospel for 30 or 40 years, starting around 1948. This was Keynesian personified until all of a sudden in 75, the formula blew up. It blew up. And there were people running around. Wait a minute, how could this happen? What? This doesn't make any sense. The fifth dimension, something, whatever. And as I say, what happened was in 1979, when Carter, two things Carter did that were good. One, he deregulated the airlines, and that was great, and for a lot of people. Wasn't so great for us, because prior to the deregulation of the well, no, it was great.
They don't seem very deregulated to me. I mean,
no, well, no,
did they get re-regulated after that? Because
not so well. There's always the as you know, the FAA regulates a lot of stuff on the airlines,
right?
And there's a flux all the time as various ones go in and out of business, and they try this. They're allowed to try this business model, and maybe because they only fly here to here. And then the planes become more efficient, and then you can buy the old planes for no money, which even though they're not as efficient, when you do your model, it works out. They tank, they go bad, whatever. But the point is that until 1979, basically the rates, no matter where you went and where you're from, were fixed. And of course what we did, you and
federally?
Huh?
Federally, you mean?
Yes, federally.
Oh, wow.
Yep, federally. They were fixed. And now, it turned out what they did was, interestingly enough, they had, up until that time, they had never bothered with the interstate commerce clause of the Constitution because of our famous Wickard, where they said that because you're raising wheat on your own land and you're eating your own wheat and you're distilling your own wheat or whatever it is, and it never crosses trade
commerce prices.
We're saying our fiat today is
right.
That's
so they regulate intrastate flights as well. Then
yes. Well, no, they didn't.
Okay.
They didn't, and it turns out there's a reason for that. There were only 2 states that were large enough to have.
I was just gonna say.
No, seriously. And what happened was the way they broke the thing. That before Carter dissolved the fixed flights, they were flying from El Paso to Houston and from L.A. to San Francisco on these short flights or whatever it was, and they were totally unregulated. And they had these deals where they were $99, they were $50 flights or something, and they'd fill the plane up. I mean, it was just. But then, as soon as if you were to fly from L.A. to Gamble City to Nevada, which is you can drive it just about as fast as you can fly it. You were regulated. You had to charge a certain amount of money, and the whole deal was. But we, of course, when we were skiing, your brother and I, and we were skiing, we had the most fun on the planet. Why? Because they had a rule that said if you arrived 30 minutes before flight time, they had to give you a seat. How did they do it? They had to give you a seat.
Well, are you asking me? The way I remember it was we would let everybody go in front of us.
Everybody go in front of us, right?
Right.
And then what they would say, because they were slightly overbooked, they would say, "Gosh, your ticket is for cattle class, but we have none of the cattle chutes left, so you're going to have to fly first class." Because there's a couple.
The Howells did not arrive. So
that's right. That's right. And so we did that. I mean, we did that on more than one occasion. We flew. I mean, totally first class.
All right. This is definitely the tangent. We are in Tangentville.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. So you survived the inflation of the 70s.
Right.
And you think it's coming back now.
It's coming back now in spades. And the reason was, what happened was, as you know, not only was the oil. There was the oil spike, which the oil went through the ceiling. Now, gasoline, for instance, went from 30 cents a gallon to 60 cents a gallon. How are we going to survive? And so they clamped down for a while. But Carter, it wasn't until Reagan, actually, when he lifted all that stuff, said, you're free to go, whatever. And then the lines disappeared. And what also happened in 1979 was the other thing that Carter did, besides, I said, I'm sorry, I got off on a tangent. Carter had deregulated the airlines, basically. What he did was he appointed Paul Volcker as head of the Fed. And what Paul Volcker did was he clamped down on the money supply. No more money for you. And
Well, that's what they're about to do now, right?
No, that's the problem. They are shoveling the money out, and they used to call it, when Ben Bernanke was in favor, they called him Helicopter Ben. Yeah. Why? He would go up in the sky and shovel money out for everybody. The point was what Volcker did from 1979 to 1981. He said, no more money for you, no soup for you, and the interest rate went through the ceiling. Literally, the long-term rates, 30-year rates, went to 14%.
Mm-hmm. How long did they stay up there?
Only about a year and a half.
Okay,
and then everything, yeah, and they started to drop down. And by the time 1984 rolled, so we were in this horrible depression from 1980 in Reagan years, from 1980 to about 1982, and the economy started to roar at that point as capital got redistributed to where it was supposed to be. Mm-hmm. People went bankrupt like crazy, and all that money was freed up when they went bankrupt. So by 1984, roaring economy, mm-hmm. and there were mergers and acquisitions and all this stuff, mm-hmm. and of course he got elected by I don't know, 82 states or something, whatever it was. It was,
And so our politicians today don't exactly.
They have no idea how that worked, and of course they've missed the opportunity to clamp down since then in 2000 and 2005.
27 trillion we're at now.
Yes, and that's the whole point. The whole thing was that they printed money like it's going out of style. And in order to hold the rates down, you can't do it.
Mm-hmm. All right, so that's why we check these prices.
Yeah.
You think gold's going to 5,000?
Has to. I said before, it takes anywhere from 6 months. And remember now,
so you think within 2 years, you're
absolutely within 2 years.
Gold 5,000, silver 50 or 60,
yep.
and Bitcoin.
And Bitcoin's going to also go up because. Uh-huh. Bitcoin allows you to, quote, hide your money. Now, what happens is there's some other, since Bitcoin virtually is international, as gold and silver are too, but Bitcoin is really more international because you can make your transfer literally in seconds. Across borders, right. Yeah. And I noticed that there are some people like Venezuela and some other people are trying to get their own quote cryptocurrencies, but they're state-run cryptocurrencies, so they're not going to. The privacy always is going to come out of it. And now we've got how many private virtual currencies do we have, or what are they called?
I mean, there's thousands, but
and there's going to be a weeding out.
Right. Well, there already has been a bunch of them, but there seems to be a few that are coming to the fore. And so we'll see.
I think that Bitcoin was basically the first, and the last is going to be that.
Well, it's the biggest.
It's the biggest.
It's also the most participation.
That's right. It's the biggest. Not only that, a lot of other people they have their little chart on how many Ethereums are worth how many Bitcoins, kind of.
Right.
So, that and there's an arbitrage that goes on. I mean, if it turns out that your Ethereum is worth, if you buy an Ethereum and it's worth, $8,000, but the Bitcoin is $10,000, or vice versa, you buy one, sell the other, just wait, because that's arbitrage, that's called.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know that you're going to find any. I mean, I'm sure people are doing that between the coins.
Listen. It doesn't have to be much. I don't know if you know this. I'm staying on this tangent. Sorry, we're going to get there. This is Education Day. All right, everybody, shut up.
15 minutes into the.
That's right. We're 15 minutes into it.
To the goal.
One of the things when you talk about arbitrage, for instance, that is the price difference that you can buy and sell some things at. You understand one of the fancy things is all of the major computerized trading people on the NASDAQ. And the New York Stock Exchange, where do they have their AI computers? They have it outside the door, outside the wall of the exchange. And the reason is electricity takes, a nanosecond to go this far, but it takes 2 nanoseconds to go this far. And so if you're trying to trade from Ohio or from you're losing your butt because somebody else has jumped in there.
Now because most of the trading is computerized trading.
Right. Exactly, that's what I'm saying. And the computer figures out when to buy and sell when it sees a discrepancy, and the discrepancy can be minuscule because you're trading 10 million shares. Mm-hmm. So if it's a penny, guess what? You buy and sell at the same instant. But the fact is that you can't see the discrepancy if you're in Ohio It's like talking on the phone to somebody.
All right. Do you think that this when gold and all these things go up, are you projecting the stock market to take a crash again?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I certainly am. I really think that the stock market is going to, because here you got to ask yourself, where's all this money going? Now, right now, all the money has been going into the stock market, as we've seen in just in the last 10, 12 years.
So
it's
where
gone
else
from
is it
8,000 to 28,000 in basically the same stocks.
So where are all those trillions of dollars going to go?
Gold and silver and Bitcoin.
Okay.
That's when they come out. People are going to scream for some kind of safety. And the nice thing about the stock market, and also kind of a nice thing about the Bitcoin, is you can trade instantaneously. You can. I mean, you can call up and you can dump your stuff. Well, the problem is when everybody tries to dump their stuff, that's when they have the
yeah, but I mean
they have the what do you call it? The things when the stopgap or whatever it is. But still. So what happens is they still start trading again on the next day, and you could have another drop of 500. I mean, seriously, I don't doubt that one of the problems with this, whatever they call that, I forget. I'm trying to figure out what it is. They still let it go 24 hours or 12 hours later, and when that happens, and of course, there's overseas people can dump their IBM shares in Japan. Or Hong Kong, or whatever it is. So it's going to be fun to watch.
It could happen fast.
Absolutely, and a lot of people are thinking that they're so smart, they can get out the door, and this has been shown literally since 1929, when Fisher, who was the guru this decade, said we are on a permanently high plateau of expanding wealth and expanding. This was like in September of 1929. 30 days later, it collapsed. And actually, it collapsed twice.
Right.
So.
Well, from a long-term perspective, he was right.
Yeah. Well, of course, as Keynes said, and he's right, in the long term, we're all dead. And of course, what I'm saying about Keynes, you have to say, wait a minute. Keynes was a guru in 1945. Ask this question: how many people who were alive in 1945 are alive today? My deal is this: this is the long term. You know, no, I'm one of them. I'm one of them. That's right, because I got brandy new lungs, and I have not been hit by the COVID yet.
Right.
Although we're going to find out.
Yeah.
I'm going to move on to actual stories now. This is Trump's COVID.
Okay, well, it's all wrapped together. I mean, obviously, if that market were to collapse before the election, that would have a big impact. But
well, you did notice that when they announced it on Thursday evening, that the futures dropped 500 points. Now, in this day and age, that's not that much.
Yeah, no, it bounced back right away.
It bounced back right away, that's right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that the market is going to price in too much of a difference between Biden and Trump. I mean, obviously,
I don't think so. I think that the market realizes that if Biden gets elected, they're up Schitt's Creek.
Well, why though? Why would they be up Schitt's Creek? I mean,
Green New Deal, all the government
but are they really going to do that, or are they going to do a big corporate
you have to kind of look into the future. Well, yeah, could be.
I mean, you say, oh look, it's green. Look at all these green companies we're promoting now.
It's not that. Although I want to talk about that.
DuPont has gone green.
Yeah.
And
I'm going to talk about that.
Texaco has gone green.
California's going green.
There you go.
Okay. These people are desperately trying to, advance a totally saturated wet noodle across the floor, and you can't. It's it's just not going to move.
It just pushes right across there.
No, it doesn't. No,
carpet, a nice shag carpet.
Not even remotely. No. And the fact is that you can keep. Obviously, as we've seen, on the Jimmy Doane show from literally 12 years ago, from the audio ones we've had that are still floating around here, I was predicting catastrophes by 2012.
We were a little early.
A little, as we used to say in those days, we're always ahead of the curve. Well,
we're getting into the stop clock territory here.
Yeah, right. Well, no, you say that. No, the time moves on.
Time
moves on. This is not a 24-hour clock. This is a clock that, is a billion years. So I know, but the fact is that they flattened the curve, but I'm saying at some point it's got to go gachingo, and I have called it wrong. I've been wrong on more than one occasion.
Well, like you said, like Peter Schiff keeps saying, maybe he's been wrong to this point, but ultimately he'll.
Well, they give him, as they give me, as I give myself,
right,
poop for being way ahead. I'm saying this can't be, kind of thing, and it's one of those things. Are you wishing for it to happen? Well, in a way, believe it or not,
in a way,
would you just get it over with?
Well, look, I mean, there are ways out. I mean,
name one.
Well,
besides a crash.
Well, I mean, there are partial crashes. For example, they could do things like they could start deregulating heavily all over the place. They could start creating more sound money than they're having now.
Like what?
Well, I mean, they could do what they were doing before, which is reverse course on the interest rates and start calling in the debts, basically, or paying off the debts of the Fed, collecting in the money, cranking in the money supply, and beginning the, and it might be at some point a Pythagorean siphon, whereby if enough stuff goes down the thing, it all goes down.
This is what happened in 1980 with Volcker, and it was. But the good news, in 1980, the United States was still a creditor nation. We had people owing us money right and left. We were still rich, and one of the things that I see in the paper all the time is they say, we're the richest country in the world, and why can't we do this? And I said, wait, just hold on a second. You've got an economy of $16 or $17 trillion, and you're $28 trillion in debt. On the balance sheet, you're broke. You're not the richest country in the world. You're broke.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Well, this is the conflation of groups is what this is. This is you're absolutely right in the sense of the country, the government doesn't have the money. The government owes that money. But those people who are talking are looking around at certain companies, certain groups.
No question about it. And in fact, even during the Great Depression, interesting.
I mean, somebody owns that debt, and those people are going to be fine.
Well, no, not if you're don't get paid.
Well, right, but even if they get paid pennies on the dollar, I mean, some of them will take it on.
Well, let me put it this way. I will tell you this much: that in the 30s, there were two things that happened that I know of. One, at least one magazine, I think it was Time, and it might have been Fortune, were founded in 1931. Correct me on this. Go back and take a look. But the railroads, believe it or not, even though all the ups and downs they've been through, were paying 5 or 6% every month, every day, whatever it was. They were paying money. If you had money in those particular industries,
right,
you got money.
Right. There's a bunch of them like that, and because there's always winners, even in.
Well, the railroads back then, if you wanted to have transportation, that was it. I mean, now in this day and age, a lot of the companies that pay money out, you got to look at their business plan. How are they making money? Could it dry up overnight? I don't know. I look at something like Walmart. I don't believe that's going anywhere. Even though we've got all now the online stuff. Well, Walmart, no fools, they have gotten into that totally. I mean, I've got a little thing on my thing that says order from Walmart, and I ordered some stuff from Walmart. It literally was here in less than 24 hours.
Yeah, look, there's a lot of manufacturing that we still do on all kinds of levels. There's a lot of productivity in the United States still, and that's the actual wealth that's here.
That's right. So productivity means an increase in value.
Right, and at some point the dollars will be redivided up, and who knows if we'll get a strong dollar like the mark or something.
Yeah, no, here's the deal. The mark, good point. Both the mark and the franc, for instance, and the lira.
The bolivar.
And the bolivar, right. I mean, they tanked totally. I was there. I was there. In the very early 60s. I was there when they were...
Fiat currencies.
Huh?
It's happened to a bunch of fiat currencies.
All of them. All of them.
Maybe.
No. There has not been even. Let me put it this way.
Look, the reason to go to fiat is so that you can run up some debt. Okay.
Absolutely. And what you have to do, though, if you go to fiat currency, you have to make sure that your fiat currency is the only legal one.
Right. Well, that's part of it.
You can't issue, like, if you try and issue script, for instance.
But yeah, you have to get control of it before you do.
Well,
the
they do.
squeeze.
They have the soldiers. They have the
Right.
guns. I mean, that's that's what they do. I mean, it's interesting because what has historically happened for 5,000 years is that when they finally got around and convinced everybody that gold was real money, the first thing that the sovereigns did was to, as they called in the gold, they remelted it down, shoved a little silver in there, and reissued it, even though it looked just the same. It was only 90%, and then 80%, and finally, in the 300 or 400s in the Roman Empire, it was like 2% gold.
Look, these are regular, normal cycles.
I know that,
happens
and
everywhere.
ours is the same one.
Right. I mean, paper money was outlawed in China in the 1300s at one point. For
Really?
100, yeah, for like 100 years, you couldn't
Well,
have.
they had paper money in China like before Christ.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm just talking about one little
that's right.
piece of the
You're right.
cycle.
Right.
You know, one little piece of one of the cycles is all. It happens all the time.
Well, the problem
But
was
where it
in
sucks is we're
China,
just in a
it
crappy-
had Chinese writing on it. Nobody understood it.
All right. So I feel like you're trying to avoid the critical issue of the day, and I say critical with the
Chief
no
of
pun
Staff
intended.
Mark Meadows says Trump vitals are very concerning, and in the next 48 hours are critical. Minutes after doctors claimed he was doing well. As it emerges, he may have been diagnosed Wednesday and was on oxygen at the White House. Now, I can tell you personally, from somebody who has had a double lung transplant, you are on oxygen. And here's the deal. Every single EM vehicle on the planet carries oxygen. If they find you fainted on the side of the road, the first thing they do is to slap an oxygen mask on you. I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
And that's what they do.
Yeah.
It's the idea that, when they started to press him, the
So that
press
means he's gonna
was he
die.
on yesterday,
Right.
the day before, 2 hours, 1 hour, whatever. And I'm sitting there thinking, shut up. Here's the way it works. Nobody.
He did not look good at the debate,
No, I understand that. And actually, I'm going to talk about that.
Okay.
But the point is, they were trying to make a big show out of the pact, out of the thing was, did Trump, was he on any time on oxygen? And was that a bad thing? And I'm saying, no, that's the first thing they do. Did they take his pulse? Yeah. Of course they did. They'd look at his eyeball, to see, but the point is, if you have, especially, most especially, if you even remotely suspect in this day and age that COVID is involved, which is a lung problem, the first thing you do is to get your oxygen bottle out there, crank it up to 100%, and slap it on his face. That's what now.
Drink some bleach to.
No, yeah, right. You
Get it
drink
out of
something-
there.
That's right. Yeah, you put a UV light down there. Okay. No, the point is, though, that's the first thing you do. Everybody gets an oxygen bottle. I don't care who you are. And And so when they were trying to pin him down as to when he went on oxygen and when he didn't, it was, I don't know if I were the doctor, because the way they take things out of constitution. Well, of course, when we got there, we put him on oxygen just to be sure.
Right.
And they would say, "Oh, he wasn't breathing. He was, they had to give him mouth to mouth or bottle to mouth or whatever the hell it is." They would have gone nuts. And the fact is,
Well, look, all right. What you're talking about is the diagnosis, obviously. And
they didn't know.
Well, look, whatever it is, there's a critical time juncture coming up here, obviously, which is the election.
Oh yeah.
And it makes a difference how basically how sick he is at the time of the election. And there's obviously three possibilities. I mean, obviously the one possibility is he croaks between now and the election, which obviously changes everything.
You think?
I mean, I'm just thinking out loud
well,
here.
I asked you, do you think? And you just said you're thinking. I got that.
That's right. So, and to me, I would suppose that at that point they just put Pence on the top of the ticket. Somehow they do some kind of a ruling like that, and then they go forward with that, and everything.
Don't talk about that, okay? Let's go on. Let's go on to look.
Well, the reason I only bring that up is because if it's not that, then the only and the odds of that are like 1 in 1,000 or 1 in 10,000 or
right,
something.
okay, not going to happen.
Exactly, not
ahead.
going to happen.
So
if
what's number two?
Number two is he's super sick during the election.
Not going to happen.
again, odds are, even though 10 times greater than him dying, still probably 1 in 1,000 or 1 in 10,000, something really. So the third possibility is he's recovered.
He recovers, and we'll talk about that.
And then if he recovers and he recovers well, then he's going to be, I think, an inspiration to a lot of
Absolutely, I agree.
people to get back to things.
I agree.
I mean, as bad, I think it would cast a pallor over the nation if he dies like tomorrow or something.
God, are you kidding?
I mean, I'm laughing because you know that the left would literally be laughing as well. I mean, they would be.
Well, they already are. I mean, what's so funny about this was to watch them coming out and saying, "We're praying for the president."
Right.
I mean, you talk about crocodile tears.
It would be the biggest party. They would be in Hollywood. They have the biggest party ever.
I mean, seriously.
But whatever. It's to me, it is what it is. But. Like I said, the odds of that are practically zero. The odds.
Look, let's go with. I'm going with this. Okay.
He's
going to recover,
right?
And by tomorrow or the next day, he's going to go on.
Well, how long was Boris sick? I meant to look that up before.
Wasn't long, but it might have been a week.
Just a week? I mean,
maybe I don't care. Boris.
It's only 30 days, is what I'm saying. I mean, he could theoretically be still ill by then.
Here's the deal.
Especially if he gets out of the
He's going to go back to the White House and do stuff. And
think he's going to wear a mask?
Good question. Good question. No, that's a good question. We'll see, because he did wear a mask to walk out to Marine One.
He did not?
He did.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah.
Okay. The team and I are extremely happy with the progress of the president, said Connolly. And he said he had been fever-free for 24 hours and having no problem breathing and doing no oxygen.
Say hello. Say hello.
Ah, yes, the cat. The president's vitals of the last 24 hours. And now somebody else said the next 24 hours, the vitals would be very, very concerning, and the next 48 hours will be critical in terms of his care. Well, every time you come up with the word like critical, everybody, that was this guy Meadows, whoever the hell that was.
We've seen this
one. He was the chief of staff. And I don't know what chief of staff is coming out there. And after the doctor said everything's fine, and the chief of staff comes out there and says, well, look, be careful, maybe not so fine. And then Trump tweeted, shut up.
Well, look, we've seen the onset of this one take a few days. I mean, it's not like influenza where 8 hours later you're comatose or something. It takes a few days, even if it's
Look, the flu, let me tell you, the flu, you can be near death for a week and recover just fine. I've been there.
I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying that the flu
you wish you were dead.
And what I'm saying is the flu even has a faster onset than this.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm saying that this can take a little time.
Yes, if you believe those guys. It's one. Okay, I'm going to talk about that in a minute.
Okay.
He's receiving, here's the other thing. He's receiving a variety of treatments, including the experimental Ebola drug remdesivir.
Yeah.
There was a doctor that wrote in to the Lou Rockwell report and said, wait a minute. They're giving him that drug and another one, and they've never checked and these are all experimental. They haven't checked the interaction. They're trying to kill him.
No problem.
Okay. At least 7 members of Trump's inner circle have tested positive for coronavirus. So now, anyway, the doctors, quote, as they say, doctors, and this is what they say, Trump condition improving, could be discharged Monday. And the next item was, as the cold weather arrives, states see record increases in COVID cases. 9 U.S. states have reported record increases in COVID-19 cases over the last 7 days, mostly in the upper Midwest and West, where chilly weather is forcing more activities indoors. It turns out that 9 states have suddenly come back on their third thing or whatever it was, and are setting new records, as they say. They think.
Yeah, look, this is our
No, you did it.
Well, yeah. I mean, and it's not lined up perfectly or anything, but you want to see the last few days have not been bad at all. I mean, New York had apparently 6 deaths. Now, this is deaths, not cases.
Right. Well,
so it's
how
lagging.
can you, look, it says right here.
Well, it says
it's
cases
horrible.
also. I know. So this lags. So we'll see. But 6 deaths, New York. I mean, even Texas. They were down from where we were 2 shows ago.
People don't realize that when you test and you have a coronavirus indication and you count that as a case, that is not a death.
Well, right, but it could be. I mean, it could be.
I know, but you wait till it is. That's when you report it. It could be doesn't count. It's the actual,
Well,
you
want to report on
putting
all
up the daisies.
sides. You want to report on all sides. I mean, you want take all.
It's because you scare the shit out of people. It's terrible.
Well, people need to realize not to be scared about shit you read in the newspaper.
Thank you so much. Mrs. Jimmy's scared poopless about this. No, seriously. The other day, there's 2 things. She's a little paranoid about bugs. Whenever you open a door, even to go outside, shut the door. So bugs are coming in.
Okay.
But she is a little panicky about the coronavirus, even though she goes out and shops twice a day.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, countries across Europe set a grim COVID records as restrictions are reimposed.
Yeah. Well, I looked at the numbers in various places.
The numbers were a joke.
Oh.
I mean, really. Germany reported 2,600 new infections, the highest number since April 18th.
Mm-hmm.
In France,
How is that a joke?
I'm going to tell you. Daily record on Saturday with 17,000 new cases in the past 24 hours, surpassing last week's record of 16,000. And the mayor of Paris, minister of Paris or whatever, says we're in real danger of returning to a lockdown as soon as Monday, which is tomorrow.
Uh-huh.
So, here's the warning. Poland reported 2,400 new cases, hitting a record high for the 3rd day in a row. The United Kingdom, which has the biggest death toll on the continent, reported almost 13,000 new COVID cases, more than double the most recent 7-day rolling average. Now, when you go and you find out these are the cases, there were like 9 deaths, 19 deaths, whatever it was. The number of deaths were like nothing. I mean, compared to all these cases. So
so you're saying these are probably the mild asymptomatic cases?
Totally, yes, exactly. That's what I'm saying. And they're talking about locking the place down. Now, here's the deal. The place has been locked down already. So you let things
Paris?
go, and now it's spiking back. Let me ask you a question. Do you think go look at Sweden, do you think by locking it down that all you did was to postpone the new cases? Any chance of that? I would say yes.
Well,
you flatten the curve. You flatten the curve so that you can take control. You can have everybody. You can arrest people for not wearing a mask for the next 6 months.
okay. I mean, so here's the thing. It depends on France is somewhere in the neighborhood of 33,000 deaths at this point. They're coming up on a Sweden level of herd immunity. So would be Britain at this point. Belgium just passed their 10,000th death.
Yeah.
Sweden is still down at under 6,000.
Whatever. Yeah.
Well,
Now you have to take this into account with the populations because
right.
Sweden is what
10 million.
10 million.
Right. And France is what 40 or 50.
Yeah, so is England. England's more than that.
Yeah, England's 60, 62, 65, something like that. But still, those numbers are sort of comparable. Now, interestingly, Brazil has been coming on pretty strong.
Oh yeah.
At this point, Brazil apparently has 3/4 of the cases that we do.
Yeah.
And only 2/3 of the population.
Right.
And
I didn't pull that up. Yeah, but
yeah, and
I
you've
was
got
going
Mexico and stuff. But surprisingly, still almost no action across Africa.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's because one
Because they're obese.
not that.
No.
But actually, one interesting statistic that would make a big difference is youth.
Yes.
Relatively young population.
That's right. No, you're right about that. It is interesting when you look at the demographics.
It's
the average is like 25 or 28
It's
or
very
something. It's
young.
unbelievable.
I mean, it's 2 decades.
Japan averages like 100.
126
That's
is
it.
the average age in Japan. Yes, and it's 17 in Africa or something like that. Now maybe that's it. I don't know. India is starting to have issues as well.
Yes.
Pretty big
Another explosion
scale.
in India, right?
So we'll see, but
Well, that's the whole thing is we'll see. And
2 more weeks, and that's what I'm going to say.
2 more
Just
weeks.
2
Good. Okay, listen. Please do not listen to previous shows where you held up when you. This was a victory. So 2 more weeks.
That's
2
right.
more weeks.
No, well,
According to Councilor Curtis,
the
2
big
more weeks
news.
is in
Look, here's the thing. The big news is in terms of America. What we know is this: if Trump kicks this thing's ass and he's back out on the campaign trail next week or the week after, or any time before within a week of the election, it's the COVID thing will be blown off, because it will be like, if fat cheeseburger eating 74-year-old Trump can beat this thing, then
A cheese eater? Look,
cheeseburger.
Okay, I was going to say we reserve that for the French.
Cheese eater? What? Yes. No, cheeseburger eating Trump. If he can survive that thing, everybody will be like, I got this. Contrary-wise, if he kicks it between now and then, or things are so horrible that he can't campaign and win and whatever, then I think that we're back to the 2 weeks, 2 weeks and more.
I'm voting for him anyway.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, if they put him in a casket, I'm voting for him. It's okay. Now, here's the other thing.
Well, you already did, right? Did you send in your absentee?
I did. In fact, I did.
Right. So
I sent in my
your mail-in ballot.
mail-in ballot. I did, which
So now
one
if
of the
he
things I
croaks,
was
you don't get
panicking-
that back, do you?
What was interesting here in Lancaster County, or actually, I guess most of Florida.
Go in there and be like, I want my hanging chads.
Yeah, no, there were no chads. This was fill in the little dot,
Okay.
and they run them through this thing fairly quickly. What was interesting was I didn't bother to read the instructions, and it turned out they had given a person a security envelope. So you take your ballot and after you voted, you fold it in half,
Oh.
and you put it in this dark pink
You
security.
didn't follow the instructions.
And then you put that in the envelope.
Then your
and mail.
ballot's
and of course
invalid.
the ID, right? And so I called him up. I said, wait a minute, you're telling me somebody's going to look through the thing and see that, because the security envelope was made so you couldn't hold it up to the
Right.
Well, you couldn't see through it. I don't care. It would have to be, one of those arc lamps in order to see through the thing. And of course, it's folded over.
Superman.
It's folded over anyway, so
Right.
you wouldn't be able to know. Anyway,
Sure.
so they wouldn't know if that was. Anyway, they said it'll be just fine, and she was
Sounds
laughing.
like you're trying to vote twice to me.
Yeah. So now here's my latest conspiracy theory.
Oh, okay.
You ready for this?
Okay, yes.
I think that you think about it for a second. How did the president get infected?
China.
No. Hope Hicks.
Okay.
Hope Hicks, I think, was the one that infected him. I'll tell you why. She knows it as a model, ex-model,
Okay.
and she worked at the White House. Let me just see here. She was a political advisor serving as senior counselor previously, until 2017, until September 2017, and she was, and actually then she was communications director until March 2018. She resigned on March 29th, 2018, and returned March 9th, 2020. 2 years she was out. I think maybe she's a Manchurian candidate.
Russian spy.
Russian Manchurian candidate, and what they did is they got a hold of her, and because he knew she's a model. Trump loves models,
Right.
And knew she was going to be rehired.
We're gonna put this on your ass.
So, well, whatever. They had a time release pill that was going to go, and they had it all figured out before the election, and they knew she was going to get rehired. So she goes, and she was like they keep saying how close she was with the president. They knew this,
Right.
And so the fact is, she is the one. And this is what happened and it's the Ruskies.
Here's your coronavirus lipstick.
Exactly. Well, it was a time release pill that
Right.
took like a year or something like that. So it has no doubt in my mind
Right.
that hope. Notice the name, hope. Okay, not expectation.
Yeah.
Hope. We hope she'll get.
Sounds pretty obvious.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
This is I'm really
I think
good at
you
figuring
nailed
this
it.
stuff out. I've nailed it. That's for sure. So anyway, we're still moving along here. Mitch McConnell will move to send the confirmation. Is it going to happen? Yes.
Yes.
The only little minor problem is
Quorum.
that's right, the quorum. Here's the deal: they got a 3 lead. Well, and of course, at least 1 or 2 of them not going to vote to confirm.
Okay.
But if 2 or 3 of the senators get near Hope Hicks, or I'm sorry, if they get infected and are laid up in one of the iron lungs, and they can't vote, then what?
Well, then you appear by Zoom, and you
Could
know,
do
it's
that,
the
and of
weekend at Bernie's kind of appearance.
Well, the one thing is that is you can bet that Trumpster is not. I mean, excuse me, Mitch is not going to call for the vote unless he's got the votes.
Well, right.
Yeah, he's just not going to happen. And like you said, now I don't know. It'd be interesting to know. I wonder if they have to physically be there to punch the little button? I think they do.
Well, look, they've been through that recently.
Really?
And they pretty much have blown off the old formalities.
And I'm going to tell you a little bit about that too.
Okay.
They have blown off all the formalities. So anyway, the Senate will be in a pro forma session through October 19th. And Lindsey Graham said the judiciary will move forward on October 12th with the hearing. So it'll be interesting to see how many people come up for the hearings. That only gives about 7 days to do the hearing. And of course, the Democrats are screaming for delay. And the question is about whether the Judiciary Committee can reach a quorum, which of course I don't. The fact is that if they, quorum to me, that's good. And of course, Schumer has called the nomination hearings reckless and dangerous, which is what you'd figure. Now, one of the things that people don't realize, and this is a little bit of history, I'm going to pull rank on everybody here. In the country's earliest days, the Senate would quickly vote on the nomination, often in a matter of days. You do understand that for the first, literally, well over 100 years, there was nothing. You nominated and they were in. I mean, they didn't even vote on it. I noticed. I went down, for instance, in all the votes for the committee, the Senate Judiciary Committee does. They're the ones that vote on this, and it says voice vote. Until fairly recently, there was no question. The president nominated, and that was the person. And even if there was a little bit of a squabble, they still got in. There were very, very seldom that they got rejected.
Well, it didn't mean as much back then.
No, it did. Well, you say that. But I'll tell you, one of the things that happened had to do with the slavery business, because there were some KKK people later on in the 1890s, and there was, in the Civil War people, there was some Tanny and so forth.
There certainly were important rulings back then.
Very important.
No question, country defining. But what I'm getting at is the federal government didn't have so much power that it was a big political deal at the time.
No. In fact, until fairly recently, let me just think here. Let's see, the Judiciary Committee debated the nominations privately. They met someplace in a room someplace until 1916. That's just 100 years ago, when Woodrow Wilson nominated Louis Brandeis, and that's when the Senate held its first public hearings. For most of its history, a cloture motion was required, which in order to call a vote, and that required 2/3 of the senators. Well, when there were 48 states, however many 2/3 is of that, do the math. But in 1975, they lowered the number of cloture votes to require 3/5 or 60 senators, hoping that would reduce the number of filibusters. And then in 27, now, and that at that point they said when they did the Harry Reid thing in 2013, 7 years ago, it was for this all federal judges only had to be done by half, except for this was the nuclear option, and federal judges except for the Supreme Court, that still had to be more. Well, they threw that out in 2017. So for 4 years, the Supreme Court had to have 60 votes, but in 2017 they did it to a simple majority, 51. But basically, all the other federal judges, with Harry Reid, only had to have 51 votes, or 50 and a half. I don't know. So just a majority vote to end debate, and so forth. So
it's too bad. I think they should have supermajority voting requirements for a bunch of stuff.
Oh, taxes for one thing, I tell you.
Yeah, and criminal laws. I mean, if 3/4 of the people can't agree that something should be a crime,
yeah,
then it shouldn't be a crime.
Yeah, that's right. No,
I mean,
yeah, I'm with you on that. I mean, if it's that obvious,
right?
I mean, and that is the problem with a democracy. In a republic, you have some checks. You have some checks and balances. The problem in a democracy is 50% plus one, and the other 40% is supposed to go along.
Well, but that's why we call it a constitutional democracy.
Right.
And the concept is that the Constitution limits the democracy. There are just certain things you can't do, and it limits it from the perspective of the individual most of the time. And that's grown quite a bit. But I'm with you. I mean, also we have to remember that back in the day, the senators were not elected by the people.
The senators were selected by the state legislatures,
right.
And that was until the 17th or 18th Amendment or something, 1917, I think it was.
Yeah, 19th Amendment, maybe, I don't know.
The 19th might have been women's suffrage.
Yeah, okay, 20th.
Yeah, I know. I forget.
20.
I get confused up on the 16th. And 16th is taxes, but was the 19th Amendment passed in 1919? I don't know. It's confusing to me.
Mm-hmm.
As a math major,
18 and 21 were the liquor one.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Huh. So it means 19 and 20. What were they? I don't know.
I know. I think you were right. 19 is women's suffrage, and 20 is the one. It's either 20 or 17 that we're talking
20.
about.
So it was, and that's when and one of the reasons was, of course, the Senate. If you look back on that, especially in the 1800s, it got to be pretty corrupt. They called it the House of Millionaires. These people were soaking the government for all kinds of stuff. Well, no different today. I understand that. When you you look at the people that came into the Senate, as relative paupers, being only worth a couple of million, and they get out worth.
Look, whatever all the senators combined and all the House rep, whatever all those people made off with is a pittance, a paltry relative to what went through the spending.
That's true, but of course what you find is that they get the money, there's no question, they get the money from the lobbyists who want a specific bill. Now normally the check would be that you've got the pharmaceutical industry versus the Citizens Committee that has also a bunch of money to fight against particular laws. But apparently, I don't know. I wouldn't count on that.
No, look. I mean, I mean,
old people. The AARP. God, give me a break. They're one of the largest lobbyists on the Hill.
Yeah, but I don't know that. I mean, there's only so much that a lobbyist group can do. There's only.
Well, you have to realize that there's I forget what the number is, but there's something like 20 or 30 or 40 lobbyists for every congressperson up there, and they do everything. I mean, that's why downtown real estate on what they call K Street is so, costs you $1 million an hour to rent an office down there, whatever it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's far too much.
Yeah,
far too much money. And this actually, I'll talk about this ad I saw. Biden had a great ad out. I just saw it today, the best one that I've seen yet. And this is an old hypnosis trick, and I've seen it used a couple of times. The Carlton Sheets does this.
Okay.
And there's a guy, Newman, Randy, what's his name? Newman or something. He's a personal injury attorney in Orlando, does this. And the trick is, your whole advertisement is just dollar amounts.
Oh, really?
It's just dollar amounts that you're going to be receiving if you
if you drive down I-75, I mean, that's what I'm saying. 20 million.
That's right. Those are Randy. That's the guy I'm talking about.
Okay.
It's 17 million, 16 million, $2 million.
Yeah.
Okay. So and so Carlton Sheets and Joe Biden's ad today was this. It was 30 seconds, and it was, if you're a family of 4, you're going to get $7,000. If you have medication, you're going to save $1,300. If you're on Social Security, you're going to get $700 in additional benefits. It was just one after the other of just money you're going to get. And I'm sure people were like, "Oh, I fall in the 2 categories."
Yeah. Well, of course, I guess it's only been a dozen years since we were told that before, where you can choose your doctor. You're going to save $2,500 off your taxes.
Mm-hmm. Green New Deal is going to pay for itself.
Yeah, right.
Billy says not so much. He says it'll be almost impossible to retrofit the counties with their all the vehicles and that kind of stuff with Green New Deal compliance.
Well, you did see where they've decided in California to have no more sale of gas cars in
yes, we talked about that when they announced it a couple weeks ago. Gavin Newsom,
2035.
Stroke of a pen.
Stroke of a pen.
He called it options. That was the funny thing, was he called it, "I'm providing Californians with options."
Well, the point is that according to this thing, now he's not going to be in office then.
Right.
But what's going to be interesting is that 2035, all new cars are supposed to be electric.
Uh-huh.
Now they're going to grandfather in all the gas guzzlers.
Yeah, well, okay.
They're not going to have long.
Look, you said the most important thing first, which is he's not going to be around then.
Right.
And Perry won't even be alive then. This is one of those aspirational projection things that is just an advertisement for him. It's like writing a thing that says, by 2050, we're all going to be able to fly around and breathe underwater.
Look,
I promise you, trust me on this. I'm signing an executive order to make it happen right now.
Well, it's
2050. Mark my words.
Well, Governor Nostradamus,
right,
of course, has made a lot of these projections. So
yeah, well, and it's also, it's like I said, it's not only stuff you're going to be able to do, but I mean, he's just making stuff up.
All right. Well, we're coming here at the end of the night, and I had more to say on the Pope and on California.
Well, I got one more little topic here.
Okay, good. I'll save this for Wednesday.
Okay, well, yeah. Well, this is kind of a big topic. I don't know, but I think it's totally relevant right now because it's been all talked about, and that is white supremacy.
Yeah. Oh Lord, don't tell me. Yeah.
The whole thing, and here's what I want to say about the whole issue, and that is that people should take the intellectual leap to distinguish between concepts and groups and other people. And what I mean by that is they're saying things like, well, you should denounce the Proud Boys, Well, why not just denounce white supremacy? Because that's really what you're getting at there. That is to say, the Proud Boys may be made up of all kinds of people. Who knows who's really in there? And is a group the worst part of the membership or the best part of the membership? Or is it all the membership? Or is it just what's written in the manifesto? Or is it the views of the founder? I mean, you can see how all these ideas get conflated today. Somebody will say something like, well, Antifa, it's right in the name, anti-fascist. Right? Well, they wrote it right there. It's right. So is that what it means? Well, not necessarily. I
don't even know what a fascist is.
Maybe not.
But I'm anti.
That's it. Well, look, who knows? And who knows? And is Black Lives Matter? Are they pro-Black lives or is it something else? I mean, you get to read past everything and you get to read into the reality. Like the Boogaloo Boys. I mean, the only thing I know about the Boogaloo Boys is they wear Hawaiian shirts and they like guns. That's it. I've never heard literally another word about them. So you wouldn't. you should.
So what's your point here? I don't know.
My point is that there's this movement to force everybody to condemn everything, and what I'm saying is don't condemn groups of people. Don't even condemn people. Somebody said, well, you didn't condemn David Duke or whatever. You know, you don't have to do that. That's not the best way to do it. The best way to do it is to focus on the ideas that we all agree are condemnable. You just condemn the idea, okay? That does it. It handles it. That way the person is out of it. And you don't need to condemn people because people can change. And you may misunderstand the people. You may not understand who the hell you're talking about anyway to begin with. So I'm saying it's good enough to condemn certain ideas. And personally, I mean, you get to look around and see what's actually happening and make the decision about what the ideas.
Well, when you boil it down to its simplest, I think it's the NAP, you know, the
non-aggression principle.
Non-aggression principle. I mean, because if you're going to agree, I don't know what group you're in, but if part of your deal is aggression,
that's what I'm getting at. That's what you should do. You should say, I'm anti-aggression, I'm anti-racist, whatever it is. And whatever people fall into whatever groups, fine. Then those people are among the condemned. But I don't have to condemn the individual groups or the individual people. And nobody should. Nobody should, because it's too inspecific.
Well, unless you're the Southern Poverty Law Center, of course they've got.
Well, that's what I'm getting at.
Those guys are
Even them. Look, I have a friend who works for them.
Oh God.
I do, and she's a good person. You know, she is, and so look. So I'm not going to condemn the group. I'm going to condemn listing large numbers of other groups as hate groups, because that's the act that they do. That's reprehensible to me. But otherwise, you're good. You know who you are.
Yes.
So, all right, that's all I got. Let's see if anybody else. We got a few things from Bill. Says that market's going to tank if Biden gets elected, and
I agree.
Jack Rhodes said that as well.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know. I don't know if
You know, well, one of the things that happens is if you've got all this expectation, it doesn't surprise me that it goes the other way.
Right.
You know, if everybody thinks that this is the art of, there's a book, a great book called The Art of Contrary Thinking, and if everybody thinks one thing, then more than likely there's nobody else on the other side. So that's, you know.
But I mean, the market is controlled by a Pareto group. That is to say, a small group of people own most of the market. Yeah, it's like 10% own 80% of the market. So I mean, they're the smart money.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, you're talking about the stock market.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not the market.
Oh, you're talking about the whole economy?
I'm talking about the market.
Okay.
That's the big deal. Okay.
All right.
So on Wednesday, what I'll do is I'm going to talk about the Pope and California.
Okay. All right. And hey, if you got an idea or a topic you want us to touch on, leave us a note here. Thanks, Billy, for chiming in, and Quinn. I got your message. I couldn't quite figure out what we were supposed to talk about from that, but I'll message you about it. We'll talk about it. What's happening, Steve, out west? All right, hope you guys are doing well. We'll be back in a few days. Let's see, the 7th of October. These tracks brought to you by Kevin McLeod. Thank you, Kevin. We very much appreciate it. I'm Counselor Curtis, and this has been the Jimmy Doane Show. See you soon.